this year I decided to attend Tampa Bay Comic-Con as a normal congoer and not a contestant, and look at this amazing view from my room. The hotel kind of sucked, but the view was gorgeous. I did nothing on Friday because I was exhausted after a work trip. But on Saturday I decided to wear my 1880s Aurora dress, and this is as far as I got in the outfit before I realized I forgot my lacing at home and couldn't wear it. So instead I just went as little old me. I actually really enjoyed this area of Tampa. It is something called Harbor Bay, I believe, and it's actually on an island, which was really neat. It was a very small island. The area looked to be newly developed, except for our hotel seemed incredibly ancient, and there were these lovely restaurants right outside that had windows that you could walk up to order instead of going inside, which I found incredibly charming. Pretty delicious ice cream place right here, but the walk to the convention center actually wasn't that bad. It's a little awful when it comes to Florida sun and the UV index, but we were fortunate enough to have some cloud cover that kept it from being too terrible, and it wasn't too hot, which was great. But it was a simple walk across the bridge with this beautiful looking harbor and a lot of construction in the background. There is the convention center, super close. I think it took us about 5 minutes to walk. And all of the hotels are actually right around here. There's the Marriott and the Embassy Suites, which we stayed at last year. I highly recommend the Embassy Suites. It was a much nicer hotel than the Westin we stayed at, and it had a sky bridge to get you over to the convention center. So if you're ever competing at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, make sure to book your hotel room early so that you can get into the Embassy Suites. This was a relatively last-minute decision to go, and the only thing we could really book was the Westin, and it was incredibly expensive. And I think I've said it more than once, but not super great. I plan to take this day pretty chill and just see what all the convention has to offer. So after walking past some very interesting protesters and going through security, we did one of my favorite things to do, which is walk around the vendor hall. I've decided after this weekend that Tampa Bay Comic-Con is truly just a one-day convention, unless there's some celebrity that is only on like a Friday and you want to also see the cosplay contest. You can walk the entirety of the vendor hall multiple times in a single day. I will say the quality of the vendors was really high. I enjoyed a lot of the booths that I saw. I did not see a ton of 3D printed plastic, nor did I see a lot of the same type of booths over and over again. There was a nice variety of options when it came to Artist Alley and the vendor hall. They also had quite a few celebrities that I didn't realize were in attendance, such as Carrie Yules. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he is Wesley from Princess Bride. They also had John Rhys Davies, another name I don't think I'm pronouncing correctly, but Gimli from The Lord of the Rings. And if I had a bit more energy, I totally would have gotten an autograph from him, because I'm trying to get autographs from all 9 of the Fellowship. I only have the Hobbits so far. But I was so exhausted after the previous week that I didn't feel like standing in line for really anything. So we wandered around the convention center. I did a little shopping. I have to say that I don't actually like this convention center. It's just not very well set up for a Comic-Con. While the vendor area is nice and the bottom floor where they have some of the tabletop gaming is also fine, they fill up the 4th floor, which has this weird narrow hallway to get anywhere, and it's incredibly crowded. And if you're wearing a large cosplay, you're not going to fit very well down that hall. But if you go to the 4th floor, you'll find the Maid Cafe, which I'm passing here on the left, and interestingly enough, you're going to find an escape. I personally don't think the escape room is worth it. It's 4 minutes of instruction, I think 6 minutes of actual game time, and then 5 minutes of pictures or something like that. It's there as an option, and we decided not to do it because of the timing. And here we are walking around outside of the vendor hall looking at some of the snacks, but I went back to the room at this point to open up some mystery dice boxes that I purchased from Splintered Tree. They have the best value for dollar mystery boxes and the best mystery boxes period when it comes for dice. You always get something incredibly high quality. So this first box is a prismatic glass dice set. This is something I've been wanting forever. Normally it retails over $100. They had it for $80, and if you purchase this set, you actually got another set for free, which was a mystery, and I am a sucker for a mystery, so I went ahead and purchased my dream set, and got a second set for free, which is another glass set that is this beautiful red, purple, blue crackled glass. Next, I opened up this mystery box. So they had two $50 mystery boxes. One contained 2 sets of dice that would be glass or gemstone, natural gemstone, or the other one would have metal dice, glass or gemstone, and then an additional D20 or something along those lines. So when I opened the box, I was really excited to see that it came with a dice bag. And then the first set I opened was this stunning natural African bloodstone dice set. And then, much to my surprise and happiness, the other set in here was glass, and it was a gorgeous frosted lavender dice set with prismatic numbers. Look at how beautiful these dice are. There's lovely little crackling in it as well. I love Splintered Tree. I highly recommend them if you have a dice obsession like I do. And after opening my dice and taking a little break, we went back to the convention to grab some lunch, and then we played competitive Cards Against Humanity. I did not win. We also went exploring a little bit more into the back of the convention center and found this flight simulator that was really neat. I decided not to try that one. I really wanted to do this VR experience that looked like a lot of fun. The one this person's doing is he was on some sort of roller coaster type ride and it broke and it turned him upside down. So that looks really cool. However, I noticed they did not clean the headsets between people, and that just seemed like a breakout waiting to happen, so I opted not to participate. Those were also for an additional fee. Back up to the 4th floor, looking for some other things to do in the convention. The panel selection was rather sparse this year. I was not super interested in anything else going on. Hopped over to the cosplay competition, where a wonderful friend of mine, an amazingly talented cosplayer, Tremology Cosplay, was one of the judges, and I was very excited to see her stage presence. She did such an amazing job. I had a lot of fun watching her and the rest of the cosplayers on stage. They surprised me with a 5th judge where I couldn't catch the name. If I figure out who it was, I'll put it up on the screen. I decided to record the entirety of the cosplay contest to show off all the beautiful builds that I saw and shout out each cosplayer by their cosplay name. However, something was going on with the MC or the organization because most of the cosplayers did not have their names called out. So I will put up the ones that I know, and I will have to leave the rest off because sometimes they were called out by their character, sometimes they were called out by the franchise name, and rarely were they called out by their cosplay name. So unfortunately, I just don't know who most of these people are. That makes me incredibly sad because I'd love to go follow them. That was my biggest complaint with the running of the contest itself, is I would just have loved to see the cosplay name of every one of the competitors. here are all of our winners lined up on stage, except for Best in Show, who was this amazing cosplayer. I actually got to see this a little bit up close, and it is just spectacular. So congratulations to the winner. After that, we went back to the room. A couple things I decided to share with you is this amazing little miniature house I decided to use my birthday money to purchase. And then I also got a signed copy of Snow Glass Apples, signed by Colleen Doran, the illustrator. She was such a lovely person to meet and a lovely person to talk to. She actually knows Sarcasm Hime, who did the cosplay on the front, but I read this right before bed this night and found a costume that maybe I need to add, which is Snow White right here, this little vampire Snow White. Maybe I need to add this to a future lineup. I also discovered these mini-verse resin kits of Lord of the Rings, and I got a couple cat pins. But other than that, that was my Saturday night. Sunday, I went back to the convention center to say hi to Catherine and chat with her for a little bit before heading out on the drive home. I will not be purchasing a weekend ticket for this again, maybe if I'm competing, but I think one day was more than enough. That was my Tampa Bay Comic-Con experience. Did you attend? How did you feel about the amount of programming that was available? Did you see the costume contest? What did you think of that? But with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye!